My first guest was part of President-elect Trump's eclectic squad at Madison Square Garden last night. There he is in the elevator. See him in the back there on the right? That's House Speaker Mike Johnson, who joins us now. House Speaker Johnson, so good to see you. Thanks for joining. You were just unanimously elected as the Republican nominee to be Speaker of the House. So I want to start with what you're going to do with your newfound unified Republican control of the House, Senate, and White House in what could be an action-packed first 100 days. Let's start with immigration. Trump administration is getting ready to enact sweeping changes to immigration policy, mass deportations, mandatory detention of undocumented migrants. It could require new temporary detention centers near the border, near major cities. What's the legislative plan here? Does it include the deportation of every documented immigrant? How much might that cost?
Well, here's what the plan entails. It's securing the border right out of the gates. This is what the American people have demanded and what they deserve. They want a secure country. They want a secure border, and we will deliver upon that. That's what the mandate of the election was all about. So we know how to do that. We have legislation that we passed in the previous Congress, in this Congress, H.R. 2, that would be the most secure border legislation ever passed. But President Trump, I suspect, will use his executive authorities beginning on day one. We'll come behind with legislation, and we will make sure that we have a sovereign, safe, and secure nation again. That's what we have to deliver upon.
Do you think that the American people are ready for, if all, whatever it is, 20 million undocumented immigrants are deported, do you think the American people are ready for not only the tremendous disruption in the workforce and the economy, I think it's like 5% of the workforce is undocumented, but also the fact that we're going to be seeing images of families separated, people taken out of the communities they've lived in for years? Do you think the American people are fully prepared for that?
I'm not sure that's what's going to happen, Jake. I think what the president's talking about is beginning with the dangerous persons that we know are here. There are criminals, known criminals. There are known terrorists in the country. There are some who have been apprehended for committing violent crimes after they've come across the border illegally. So you start with that number. You've got, by some counts, as many as 3 or 4 million people that fit that category. Begin there and then see how it transpires. This will take a lot of thoughtful work and deliberation, and I think the president is of exactly the right mind. And look, the American people want us to restore order in immigration. For 4 years, we've had a wide open border. The Biden administration did that intentionally. It's the reason that we had to take the extreme measure of impeaching Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of DHS. And it's the reason, I think, one of the primary reasons that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden himself, when he was running, had no chance of being reelected. Because everywhere I went around the country, Jake, and I went to over 360 campaign events in 260 cities in 40 states over the last year, the number one issue everywhere I went was cost of living and border. They went back and forth. And that was what's on the hearts and minds of the American people, and that's why President Trump is committed to deliver on it.
Now, I take your point when it comes to securing the border and getting rid of criminals that are undocumented immigrants, but the promise wasn't just to get rid of criminals, it was to get rid of all of the undocumented immigrants. And one of the reasons why their presence in cities is controversial and why Democrats lost ground in the election in places like New York is because of the degree to which these migrants were sapping resources. I can't think of a better term for it, but like they were caring for them was costing a lot of money, and money that cities didn't have. So the promise is really to get rid of all of them. I'm not saying my position on it one way or the other, but it's more than just the criminals we're talking.
Well, look, I'm not sure what the specific promise is. I know the president said that he wanted to engage in the largest mass deportation effort probably in history, because that is what is called for. I mean, you admitted yourself that it may be as many as 20 million undocumented persons, illegal aliens in the country. So this is a concern of communities all across America, not just the big cities, but rural areas as well, because they've been sent all over the nation. We need to send a message to people around the world that the open door is now being closed and that we're going to restore law and order. And I think that's what the American people are very hopeful and expecting that we will deliver upon. And we will. And President Trump's committed to it. He's the leader to do it.
So but when you talk about rural communities, a lot of migrants in rural communities are doing work that Americans don't want to do. And there is a lot of concern that deporting all of these undocumented immigrants will actually have a deleterious effect on the economy. Is that going to be taken into an account? Will there be a way for individuals who are here but here peaceably, here as part of the economy, here paying taxes and the rest? Is there going to be a way for them to find some sort of legal status? I'm not talking about a path to citizenship, but a legal status so there isn't this tremendous disruption of the economy, to say nothing of the people who have kids in school and the like.
I won't get ahead of the president, the administration, on what the specifics of the policies will be, but I can tell you that there is a real appetite in Congress to solve this problem. We do need work visas. We need to encourage legal immigration and these work programs that have been very effective. But we need everybody in this country to follow our laws. I don't think that's asking for much, and I think that's what the people want us to get back to.
Let's talk about another top priority for the incoming Trump administration, an across-the-board 10% tariff on all imports and even larger tariffs on all imports from China. Some experts say that President-elect Trump could enact the China tariffs on his own, but might need legislation for the new universal tariff. Are you going to bring that to the floor of the Congress in the first 100 days, a new 10% across-the-board tariff on all imports?
Well, just like with immigration policy, I'm not going to put the cart before the horse. The president and I have talked about this as recently as yesterday, the use of tariffs in the economy and how that might be done. It will be a balancing act, as it always is, but he has some ideas, aggressive ideas, to grow this economy again and to reduce the cost of living. And there are a number of factors that will go into that. I mean, we have lots of legislation already planned, and he has action from the White House already planned to bring down the cost of living. How? By, well, incentivizing American companies to invest here again and to grow jobs, create more jobs for more people. We have to make sure early in this new Congress that we make certain the American people don't experience the highest tax increase in U.S. history when the provisions of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act would expire. So that'll be top of the agenda as well. And then reducing the reckless levels of spending that Biden and Harris perpetuated for 4 years. We can turn this around, reduce the size and scope of government, make it work more efficiently and effectively for the American people. I was on a plane last night coming back from the UFC fight with the president and Elon Musk and many others. And Elon and I were talking about ideas to make government work more efficiently. There's exciting things on the table, Jake, and I think the people are going to be very pleased with what comes out.
So you are going to bring up extending the Trump tax cuts in the first 100 days, it sounds like. What about the president-elect's promise to eliminate taxes on tips for the service industry? How soon might we see a vote on that?
Look, I think that's an important promise. I think that it's one of the reasons that the mandate was so large. The president won, of course, the popular vote and the Electoral College and what looks to be a landslide now. And this is part of the one of the promises that he wants to deliver on. We're going to try to make that happen in the Congress. You got to do the math. You got to make sure that these new savings for the American people can be paid for and make sure the economy is a pro-growth economy. We know how to do it. We've delivered on that before, and we'll do it again. And I think that'll be part of the equation.
Let's turn now to the fact that one of your now former members, former Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida, has been nominated for U.S. Attorney General. Gaetz, as you know, had been facing a House Ethics Committee investigation over numerous allegations, including one that he had sex with a 17-year-old. We should note that Gaetz denies that allegation. On Wednesday, you said this about the House Ethics Committee's investigation.
The Speaker of the House is not involved in that, can't be involved in that, so I'm not really the person probably to answer that question.
But on Friday, you did want something to do with it. You said the House Ethics Committee report should not be released. In between those two comments, you did speak with President-elect Trump. Did he encourage you to change your position and to squash the House Ethics Committee report from being released?
No, he did not. The president and I have literally not discussed one word about the ethics report, not once. And I've been with him quite a bit this week between Washington and Mar-a-Lago. And last night in Madison Square Garden. But this is what I'll tell you about that. What I said is entirely consistent. The Speaker of the House is not involved in ethics committee work, can't be, shouldn't be, because the Speaker can't put a thumb on the scale or have anything to do with that. So I have no idea what the contents of this report would be. I didn't even know about it, Jake, until the middle of this week when it was announced in the press. What I have said with regard to the report is that it should not come out. And why? Because Matt Gaetz resigned from Congress. He is no longer a member. There's a very important protocol and tradition and rule that we maintain that the House Ethics Committee's jurisdiction does not extend to non-members of Congress. I think that would be a Pandora's box. I don't think we want the House ethics committee using all of its vast resources and powers to go after private citizens. And that's what Matt Gaetz is now. He is no longer a member of Congress. So I think that's a really important guardrail for the institution, and that's what I was speaking to in those sound bites.
The House Ethics Committee in the past has released reports of individuals who resigned from Congress, Congressman Bonner, Congressman Lukens. The House Ethics Committee, after the resignation of Mark Foley, even began an investigation and then released a report. So it's not unprecedented, and there are a number of Senate Republicans. I mean, this report's already done. It's not a question of continuing it. It's finished. There are a number of Senate Republicans who want to see it. They say it's important to their advice and consent role. Take a listen.
I think there should not be any limitation on the Senate Judiciary Committee's investigation, including whatever the House Ethics Committee has generated.
And we should have access to it one way or another based on the way that we do all of these nominations.
Don't the American people, and more importantly, don't the people who are going to be voting on Matt Gaetz' confirmation to be the top law enforcement officer of the United States, don't they have a right to see that report that has been paid for by taxpayer dollars?
Two important points here, Jake. Number one, my understanding is that the report is not finished. It's in a rough draft form, was not yet ready to be released. And since Matt Gaetz left the Congress, I don't think it's appropriate to do so. There have been, I understand, I think 2 exceptions to the rule over the whole history of Congress and the history of the Ethics Committee. But I wasn't the Speaker at that time. I'm the Speaker now. The Speaker does not have the authority to stop the release of a report by the Ethics Committee, but I've just simply said what I believe is an obvious point, that we don't want to go down that road. I don't think you want the House Ethics Committee investigating Jake Tapper or any other private citizen. You're not a member of the institution. There's a reason that it is limited in its scope and jurisdiction. The Senate has a role, the advice and consents role, under the Constitution, and they'll perform it. They'll have a rigorous review and vetting process in the Senate, but they don't need to rely upon a report or a draft report, a rough draft report, that was prepared by the Ethics Committee for its very limited purposes.
So, beyond the question of whether or not Congressman Gaetz broke the law, and certainly there's a presumption of innocence for anyone, a lot of House Republicans, your colleagues, the people you lead, have real issues with Matt Gaetz as somebody to lead the U.S. Justice Department. I'm sure you've heard them, because I've heard them. I want you to take a listen to now Senator, former House member, Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma, talking to our Manu Raju months ago about Matt Gaetz.
He was accused of sleeping with an underage girl. And there's a reason why no one in the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night.
So just to take a step back, because you and I have known each other for a long time. You're a man of faith. You're a man of God. You're a man of family. With some of these nominees, Gaetz, Hegseth, RFK Jr., I wonder, does it matter anymore for Republicans to think of leaders as people who are moral in their personal lives? Is that still important to the Republican Party?
Sure. It's an important issue for anyone in leadership. This is what I'll say about the nominees that the president has put forward, is that they are persons who will shake up the status quo. And I think what the American people have believe and what they've delivered with the mandate in this election is a demand that we shake up the status quo. It's not working for the American people. So use the term in the opening about how these are disruptors. They are. I think that's by design. Any president has the right to name their own cabinet, to nominate persons that they think will fulfill their agenda. And the people that are on this list will do that. They will go into the agencies that they're being asked to lead, and they will reform them. These agencies need reform. And I think the vast majority of the American people understand that. You can't have status quo appointments in a moment like this. I'm really excited about the days ahead. I think the America First policies will deliver for the American people. I think we're going to have a warm embrace of all the new folks who came into the Republican Party in this election cycle, the demographic shifts that we saw that were historic, because we have a chance now to demonstrate for them that our policies, our conservative constitutional policies, common sense policies are best for them as individuals and families and communities and states and the nation as a whole. So exciting days ahead. It is a new day in America. These individuals will help deliver that, and I think the Senate needs to do its job and get them appointed so that the President Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance can begin that administration and run with it on day one.
All right, Speaker Johnson, good to see you, sir. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks a lot, Jake. Good to see you.